Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2021 show. We are again and have been since last February at the Grand King Race Shops, 8155 Crawfordsville Road in Indianapolis. And want to thank Bill and Stephanie for allowing us in here once again. This is a treasure trove of antique cars and vintage cars and all kinds of neat stuff. So if and when we ever get back to semi-normalcy, you got to come down here, take a look. It's really an interesting place to visit, and you can get a tour and be told what all these cars are about. Today's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT Indycar Series, SVRA, the Gilvery's Pub and Eatery, and VP Insurance in Speedway, Indiana. A couple of things quick. If you have a computer problem, and I had a huge one a couple of weeks back, the Affordable Computer Doctor fixed it. Took several hours of work, but Steve Freeze took care of it, and he can help you. If you have a problem, give him a call. Tell him what you got. If he can't fix it one way, he can come over and make house calls. The Dr. Steve will make a house call if necessary. Call him. Number is 317-328-0766. And if you're looking for any kind of memorabilia or collectible items from Indycar primarily, I highly recommend the 500shop.com. Mike Spangle has got about anything you can think of. And if you're looking for something, you can go online to the, where the heck is it? 500shop.com and look at what he's got. It's amazing. So try it out. Or you can give him a call. His number is 317-985-0214. That's the 500shop.com. Everybody can hardly wait to get to the dentist. Well, I'm going to recommend one that you will be anxious to go. The Indy Dental Group, Indy 500 veteran Dr. Jack Miller and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have one of, if not the top-rated dental practice in the state. You need any dental problems or want to check out, see if you need have any problems, make an appointment. The number is 317-846-6125. And if it's time to renew your automobile insurance, your home insurance, or your commercial property, do what most of us have done. Call Mike Pardee at VP Insurance. He's located at 5004 West 16th Street. Give him a call, tell him what you got or what you want to accomplish. I guarantee you he'll help you. You might be surprised you get better coverage for less money. Give him a call. The number is 317-248-0070. And if you ever wondered, gee, what's it like to drive these cars? Why are the guys and gals like driving Indy cars? Well, you can find out. The Indy Racing Experience has a two-seater. You can take a ride and find out what speed is like at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway or whatever venue they happen to be. Just go online, indyracingexperience.com, look at date that'll work for you. And in the promo box, put DK1, you get a 50% discount. Or you can call the office and talk to Shonda. Number is 317-243-7171. And if you are a vintage car fan or you're getting back into Trans Am and Trans Am's coming back to life again, you need to go to svra.com and subscribe to Speed Tour Magazine. It's a great magazine, great stories, great pictures. And they'll tell you when you go to a particular event, where to go, where the good restaurants are, what the sites are to see. So it's really worthwhile. So go to svra.com and subscribe to Speed Tour Magazine, then hit the schedule button and see where they're going to be and where you could be nearby enough to make a trip. And I highly recommend you visit. They are really good. Are you interested in a vintage car? Do you have one you want to have it restored? The Grand King shops can help you. They got cars for sale and they can help you find one if you're looking for something particular. Give them a call. The number is 317-820-3595. Now, my guest today is somebody that is quite extraordinary, actually. And she's silly enough to talk to me. I'm not sure why that is, but I guess I caught her in a weak moment. She has amassed more than 20 years experience in sports marketing through the roles on the team level, agency level, and ultimately as a key player in the development of the marketing division of major sanctioning bodies. She has managed event logistics, marketing, advertising, promotions, public relations, hospitality, and client service programs at various developmental levels. She has an extensive background in marketing with a strong emphasis on communication, event management, and promotion. She is also co-founder of a company she had called Grand Solutions, which was a very successful business, but it was so good. And when Experiential Events Group was purchased by the Indy Racing Experience Company, they brought her on board as a vice president. Please welcome Ruthie Forbes. Culbertson, sorry.
Whatever you want to call me. It all works. Now, the problem is you introduced me as extraordinary. So how am I going to live up to that for the rest of this interview?
Well, because you are extraordinary, and your career is kind of interesting. I met you originally about 1995, I think, somewhere in there, when you were working for Fred Treadway and Treadway Racing. And you were
I know it's hard to say, isn't it? Treadway Racing.
Treadway Racing, yes. You also were fortunate enough, I believe, to be on board when some kid by the name, what was his name? Ari Lyondike won the 500.
I did.
Treadway was an up-and-coming team. Fred got into it for the love of the sport. His son Ricky drove for them. He did fairly well, as a matter of fact, as a driver. But how did you get into racing in particular? Because that's where you spent the majority of the 25 or 30 years that I've known you.
Yeah, it was purely accidental because I went to university here at Butler, and I actually graduated with a radio television degree. So it was one of those situations where, you're a struggling college kid, you're trying to get a job. It just so happened that one of my first interviews was for a radio network, and I got a job at this particular radio network, and the network was the Kmart Indycar radio network. So I actually worked for Paul Page for several years on the radio network, and that was my introduction to motorsports. And talk about, learning a ton. I mean, that's just such a wide scope with respect to the radio network and affiliates and racetracks and setup and location. And that was kind of back in the old days. Now we do it so much differently now. It was a lot of manual labor back then, but I sound like I should be saying I'm going uphill in the snow backwards twice after just saying that. But yeah, no, it was a great education. Lots to learn from.
And you took what you learned there and you worked for the IndyCar series for a number of years.
I did.
If it didn't happen, it's because you didn't do it. You were responsible for everything that went on, logistics, everything.
Well, in their defense, it was when IndyCar was brand new. So when I got hired at IndyCar, I worked for the race team first. So I got my feet wet when the IRL, when it first founded with Treadway Racing. And then when I went to work for IndyCar, they still were under the IMS umbrella in terms of operational logistics. And they had just broken the marketing department out to be a separate division. So that was kind of the first, offspring of the series being its own entity. So when I went to work for him, it was basically an offshoot. So I went to work in the marketing department, and I was there over the course of my tenure was basically 10 years. And over the course of my 10 years there, I got to watch literally the entire series build, all the different branches, spurring off from IMS, operations, communications, everything until it became its own entity. So it was great to watch it build.
And you left there, shook hands with everybody. And the next thing that pops up is you have a company called Grand Solutions. And what was the primary services that Grand Solution provided that you brought with you from working with IndyCar?
Well, it was weird because, it was a great job. I loved IndyCar to death. I thought it was wonderful. And always asked me, why did you leave? I left for a couple of different reasons. I adored my job and I adored what I did, but it was a case of I kind of wanted to see more. I wanted to see other sanctioned bodies, how they did it. I wanted to see, other facets of the sport and what they did. I wanted to get more into, experiential. I wanted to see kind of what else was out in the world, right? Everybody wants to grow a little bit. So when I founded the agency, one of the reasons I did is that there were a lot of racetracks that needed, supplemental experience that they didn't need on a full-time basis, kind of drop in and assist. So that was a lot of what I did when we first started the agency, was a lot of racetrack consulting and racetrack assistance. And then we jumped into one of our biggest clients was IMSA. And so we did a ton for IMSA. We helped them with all their developmental series, marketing, communications, strategy, planning. It was wonderful. And so it was really nice to get my feet wet, and see what IMSA did as opposed to what IndyCar did and how different the business models were. And then from there, we branched off and started doing things with SRO and Trans Am and a few other places. So it was really nice to kind of get a wider scope of the sport of motorsport. So it was a good, and again, I'm all about lessons learned, keep growing.
All right. What was the main thing you got from having worked for IndyCar and then getting involved in IMSA, which is a pretty good sized series? Were there things that IMSA did that IndyCar could look at, or things that IndyCar did that you took to IMSA?
Yeah, it's interesting because they're all very different business models, right?
Really?
IMSA's main focus, while it is very fan friendly and very spectator oriented, their primary functionality is is manufacturers. It's all about, manufacturers, engine manufacturers, and basically testing product, which is very cool. So it's unique to see how their goals and directions are focused on, Chevy, Audi, Porsche, et cetera, and how they grow those brands, which is kind of their primary target, in addition to keeping fan focus. IndyCar has the same methodology, but they do it in different ratios. Their biggest ratio is TV and fan friendly and an audience to get people in the doors, obviously, to help support their racetracks and to help support their brands, but it's a little bit in reverse. And same thing with, SRO. SRO looks as they're a customer-based series. So they're really looking to grow, people's entry into motorsport and to expand the brands that they have there and people's introduction to the brand. So everybody does the same thing. They all just have, they just prioritize it differently, which is interesting to see. And why?
Now, speaking of Porsche, it was announced, I think yesterday, that Simona Di Silvestro was returning with a
Yes,
team,
I'm excited to see that.
That is backed or owned essentially by a female who's been in
Beth
motorsport.
Peretta is wonderful. She'll be a great team owner. It'll be a great addition to the sport. I'm excited for it.
And needless to say, connecting with Team Penske ain't going to hurt them any.
No,
and I understand it's supposed to be an all-female crew, is what I understand.
That's what I know. The initial when they first started, I know we talked about Grace Autosport. I know it was initially supposed to be an all-female crew. I don't know. I didn't read enough into the press release to know if it was going to be an all-female crew this year or not. But the concept alone, Beth has years of experience in the automotive industry. Right. So she's got a lot of good background and good legs behind her. So I think it'll be off to a great start.
I think it's great. I've always liked her. I thought she was competitive. I was sorry to see her leave. And it's good to see her come back, and hopefully she'll run more than just a 500.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping as well. Simona's always been a great sportsman as well.
Oh yeah, she's a great gal. And the interesting thing is auto racing in her home country is illegal.
Yeah,
Switzerland,
a lot of things have become illegal these days.
Yeah, well,
sad but true.
Work, maybe. From there, somebody was peeking over your shoulder and said, we just bought this thing, and I think a good person to have oversee it is Ruthie, and that's the Experimental Group. What do you do there?
So the background on Experiential Events Group is we are the company that was formerly known as Richard Petty Enterprises. Right. So, everybody's kind of heard of that division, and it was a division of the company that didn't have anything to do with the driving experiences. So the Richard Petty driving experience kind of funneled off, and I believe it's called the NASCAR experience. It's owned by a different group. But the core focus of Experiential Events Group is just that, experiential, but primarily in the automotive industry. So a lot of that is we do a ton for Dodge, which is how we know Beth Peretta, because she was formerly with the SRT program. A lot of it is Fiat Chrysler based. So, anytime Fiat Chrysler introduces a new product, we help them with, ride and drives. We help them with the experiential programs. We help them with trade shows. We do a lot with Mika Moto auctions. If you've been to a Mika Moto auction, odds are you've seen all of our crew out there. But, in addition to that, because we still have a lot of heavy motorsports roots, there's a lot of other things we do within the motorsport contingency. We basically execute all the operations and logistics for the Ferrari Challenge Series. So anybody who's familiar with that, it's underneath the Ferrari labels. It's all of Experiential Events Group doing the execution. I do a lot of consulting for different racetracks, IndyCar racetracks. Really looking forward to the Nashville Grand Prix this year. That's going to be an amazing event. I'm excited to be able to support them as well. So we still keep our ties, to the racing side of things, but the bulk of our functionality is mostly helping and support automotive brands on a larger level, more of a base level marketing program.
And I think one of the things that you do, among others, as you mentioned, is don't you provide vehicles for movies and television and so forth?
We actually provide the camera cars, the camera trucks and the camera cars, and we've got SAG licensed drivers. So if anybody has seen Logan Lucky, the NASCAR movie that came out not too long ago with Channing Tatum, most of the on-track work that was shot at Charlotte Motor Speed, that was all our camera cars and our actors.
Now, before the health issues hit the world, if I'm not mistaken, you've got somewhere around 90 transporters that are scattered all over the place.
Oh, we do. Trucking is a big deal these days, as everybody knows. So we've got, at any given moment, we've got between 50 and 100 trucks on the road. We do a little over 1,000 events a year. Obviously not with the COVID era. That's been a little difficult. But we still have been working through COVID, which has been interesting. It's been a big learning curve, learning about PPE and and, and how to best protect our customers and our consumers. So that's been kind of an ongoing training for us. But we have been active this year. We have done a lot of events this year. We just finished up the Mecum auction in Kissimmee a couple of days ago. So we have familiarity on how to activate in this kind of turbulent world, and how to treat, the health and safety of our patrons and our customers. So it's been an odd year, but on any given day, we've done over 20,000 events since our inception, I believe.
Is that all?
We've had a little practice.
I see. You also provide hospitality if required or requested at various racing events. I know you've done some that I'm aware of in Indycar, and some big names that have used you. Mm-hmm. So that's a division of you as hospitality as well.
And we do, and we have a number of hospitality trucks and trailers that we have that we use as well. We have access to. We can do anything from, just managing on-site programs to actually providing the equipment to do so. We've done that on a lot of different cases, hospitality. We've also done a lot of, at-track parties and events. I just helped the SRO host their global awards banquet in Las Vegas a year and a half ago, which was huge. That was about 1,000 people. It was a black tie gala in Las Vegas, the Bellagio. Not exactly a small event.
No.
So we help out on a different number of different levels with respect to hospitality activation. We help with activation programs, experiential on site at the racetrack, booths, displays, things like that, building all of that. We do a lot of our own fabrication. We can build trucks, we can build trailers that have certain functionality. So you name it, we do it. I never say no to anything.
Now, would you say your company is a place that I would want to look if I were starting a race team or some kind of team, and I thought, well, let's see, I need to know how to, brand myself so people know me, and how to entertain my sponsors and so forth. Would I come to you and you can handle and guide me through that whole process?
Oh, sure. We do a lot of on different levels. Like a classic example, I'm assisting a German company right now that's looking to start a team in the United States. So I'm helping them with, where to acquire shop space, brokering vehicles, how to get them into the United States, purchasing trucks, trailers, staffing. We have our own in-house staffing agency. So I'm assisting with providing them with, they need a truckie, a tire guy, they need some mechanics. We also do, everything from, brand ambassadors, brand assistants, hospitality managers, hospitality staffing, anything you need from that front. So we have all of that in-house. So yeah, we do, we consult on a number of different levels. Our roots are based in motorsports, yeah, but we also do a lot on the corporate side. So we can also help with, if you're bringing your sponsors over, how to activate them in the United States, what programs would work and what wouldn't, and how to add on to your programs, how to maximize your programs, so you name it, we do it. And we've got years and years and years of experience on what went right and what worked and what didn't work. And the what didn't work is just as important. I kind of look at it as, failure is great because you learn a lot from it. And now you know what not to do the next round. So I try to take a lot of, what we didn't do right or found didn't work in the market is just as important as what does.
Well, it seems to me along the way, you have professional drivers that go to various events. And one of them I know is a big guy. He's huge. His name is Jimmy Kite. Oh. all 5'6" of him.
He's my favorite because he and I are eye to eye. It's great. I rarely ever have that experience.
I see. Are you still functioning enough to have these people going out for you?
Oh, yes, indeed. Jimmy just did all of our activation at the Mecum Auto Auction in Kissimmee. So he just got off the road a couple of days ago.
Oh, sure. He's down in Florida while poor Mindy is.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real hardship, isn't it? Sitting in a car all day, driving people around.
Yeah.
It's a hard life. Be sure and give him grief the next time you talk to him.
Oh, I will. Leaving Mindy at home to take care of the business while you lollygag. What's on the agenda? I know Scott Jasek doesn't like to sit around with nothing. He's always thinking, always looking. Is there something new that you're looking at? Maybe we can get into this division. Maybe. I mean, they got into the graphics and bought the biggest graphics machine manufactured in the world. And were able to put graphics up in public places, interior, because normally I guess the ink is not good for you. So, but they got one and they do that. Is there anything else that's on the agenda that Scott said, maybe we should try this?
Well, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Oh, well, that's all right. I'm old anyway. What the hell's the difference?
No, I mean, this is an era of change for everybody. You always have to look at what you're doing and its longevity in this era of, public safety crisis, right? Yeah. So, we're always looking at trying to do things differently. What I find interesting is, a lot of the agencies like ours have been focused on doing things virtually. Yep. What we've learned is a lot of our customers, they don't want virtual, they want to sit tight and they want to wait till events open back up and then they're going to flood back out and they want to get back out into the world. So what we're learning is from a lot of our clients is that, virtual isn't necessarily in demand. But we're always looking at doing something different. Anytime we get something down the pike that we can consider, by all means, we'll analyze whether or not we think we have the expertise to do it and do it right. And if we do, we'll jump in, all feet in, but it's, we never say no to anything. So if it's not motorsports related, one of the things we do is we do a tour for Dell computers, and it's basically computer education. It's a big 53-foot transporter that has basically a computer lab inside. So, we're always open to looking at different opportunities. I had a client, not too long ago ask us to create some sort of a mini home tour, traveling mini houses in Germany. So sure, we can build it, we can transport it, we'll try it.
And you can pack a suitcase and go over and show them how it works.
Yes, we can.
Are you on the road a lot? Are you here?
Not right at the moment. I have been doing a fair amount of traveling this year, which I don't mind. It's been fine this year for me for traveling so far. Looking at next year is going to be different. Obviously we're all kind of waiting to see, what the Indycar calendar is going to look like, what's getting shifted, what's staying, what's moving. Same thing is kind of happening, independent analysis with all the other racing series as well. And a lot of our big brands are trying to figure out, okay, what's the inoculation schedule? How are the vaccines getting rolled out? When do we think it's safe to do larger programs, bigger trade shows? So I anticipate probably the first half of my year is probably going to be pretty light. And then I'm guessing once we get to May, June, what I suspect is going to happen is everything's just going to blow up and then I might be on the road quite a bit, but that's what I do.
That's right. And you do it well. You've got a suitcase with wheels. Off we go.
Why, thank you.
Is there anything that you would like to do other than what you're doing? I mean, something hit you and you say, we ought to look at this. And I know Scott would never say, are you kidding me? He would, I'm sure, look at it. That's how Indy racing experience started in the first place, with a napkin and a pen. And
I think somebody needs to resurrect the race in the Bahamas.
Really?
Or Turks and Caicos. At one point they were talking about a race in Turks. I always say that every winter though. Every winter when it gets to this point, I had this moment of someone needs to resurrect, a Caribbean island event of some kind. It doesn't have to be a race, anything, something in the Caribbean. I'll go. I'll do it. I'll be in charge. That's always my winter project.
The one thing that, and I'm not going to try and embarrass you with this, but one of the things that I've always found from watching you, and what I do is, when I go to a racetrack, I wander around and see what you're doing if I find you, and what you're talking about and what you're seeing. And the thing that's always impressed me, if you walked into my office with an idea, I'd listen to you right now, because you come in, you're a bright smile, you're always excited, you're always happy, it seems to me. That you are the perfect personality for doing what Experiential Group needs.
I need to hire you to do my PR. Yeah. I just have you follow me around. I think this would be great. That's your next job.
Okay, good. I'll probably get fired from this one anyway. The guy that does it is not real proud of me. But, for you to introduce, this is Ruthie Culbertson. She's the Vice President of Business Development and Marketing. That's a pretty big thing that says, wow, she does a lot.
Yeah, it's a wide bucket. But that's one of the things I've always been proud of with respect to, what I do. I'm one of those people that I like to try something different. So it's one of the reasons why I never say no to a project, even if I don't know anything about it. I love to try to change what I do. I mean, classic example, my degree is in broadcast production, radio and television background. And now here I am doing marketing and new business development. It's because I love to try new things. And I always encourage everybody, if you're going down a career path, don't say no to something because you don't think it's your skill set. Odds are you can try it and you can succeed. So it was one of the reasons why I adored my years at Indycar, because I literally got put into so many different programs that I knew nothing about. And it was sink or swim, put your feet in it and figure it out, like live event production. pre and post race. I knew nothing about pre and post race programming, broadcast integration. I knew nothing of that when I first started. And, you just kind of jump in and get your feet wet and figure out. And so, over the course of my tenure, I like doing different things. I've discovered I don't like to be in one focal rut. I like to be, kind of all over the place. So with what I do with Experiential Events Group is I get my chance to, one day I'm consulting for a racetrack. The next day I'm building a trailer for another client, and the next day I'm helping a German race team try to come race in the United States. Everything is different. I'm all over the board, and I like that. It keeps me challenged, and it keeps me, you learn a lot. Again, I'm all about you're never too old to learn. Back to the age thing again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I always keep trying to do something different.
Well, if you think you're old now, just wait. I got you by probably 40 years. I'm
young, teeny creature, you.
Yeah, I got a pen and paper because I always write it down or I'll forget it in an hour.
We'll work on that. That's my next project. We're going to work on your technological abilities.
And the thing that I think is absolutely perfect for what you do and like to do is being with the Indy Racing Experience, Scott and Joe. They're always looking at new things, particularly Scott. And I'm sure when you come up with an idea, I doubt he's ever said no. You go find out, go look at it.
No. They're wonderful. They're so good at wanting to bring IndyCar to the public. Because let's face it, it's not an easy sport to translate. Until you can actually get in it and see it and feel it and pet it and touch it. It's hard to understand what the drivers go through because the vehicles are so dissimilar to what you have at home. And they're so good at their desire and their drive to bring this experience to, the average fan that it's a little bit, it's incentive, it spurs you on, it makes you want to try to be more forward facing and customer forward facing. And it helps me focus on, all the programs that I build for fans. If I go to a racetrack, what's the fan experience? What do they get to see? How can I bring them further in? How can I get them behind the scenes? So they're contagious, their enthusiasm for bringing the program to the fans is contagious.
Well, I got to think, your concern is the fan experience, and that's exactly what Roger wants. He spent a ton of money at the Speedway to make it.
Very much so. And it's in this day and age, in this era, it's critical. It is critical to make sure that your fans, from the moment they buy their ticket and walk in the door, that's their first point of access. And if they have a bad experience, that sets the tone for the rest of their day with you. And the same applies for experiential marketing. The moment they come up to try out what your product or brand is, you need to have them, have the greatest experience ever from start to finish. And it's critical in this era.
Something I found through what I do, I get emails from people from all over the place, sponsors, drivers, teams, and I have no idea who they are. I don't know how they found me. But one of the things that I find interesting that I've been getting all last year, since we're just in January of 2021, that you can't go to the race, but people say, well, now what do I do? They watch a lot of television. And if you're a sports fan, they found Indycar. Because well, here's a race that, we got nothing else to do. The cartoons aren't on right now, so let's watch that. And I'm hoping that the pandemic, though it's stopped fan being able to attend a race, have seen it and got enough interest to say, hey, it's only 100 miles, let's go. I hope that's going to translate.
Well, it's been interesting because since everybody's trapped at home, our intake of broadcast production is extensive. We're all trapped in our house. So we find ourselves, our average, TV usage was maybe a couple of hours a day. And now we're finding a lot of these people are 10 to 12 hours a day. Focus on it. It's right in front of you. So, and all of these broadcasters are struggling because they don't have the content to put out. So, we're all stuck with watching Groundhog Day yet again for the 400th time. And so what's nice is I think this is allowing us to capture new audiences because people are so starved for content, especially sports content. And with everything being shifted and games being pushed, I think IndyCar's, able to tap into a little bit of a wider net and an audience they wouldn't normally focus on or advertise to, just simply because you've got a trapped audience. So there's pros and cons to it. Because you have to make sure it's the greatest thing they've ever watched. But it's interesting how the whole public perception shift and how we're going to come out. And frankly, 2022 is what I'm looking ahead to. Is what are our takeaways from how our culture has changed and adapted to this, our new circumstances, what trends are we going to carry going into 2022?
Well, I think things are looking good. Strangely enough, you might think, well, we don't have fans in the stands, or if they do, it's restricted, and so forth. But oddly enough, there's new teams coming up in IndyCar that I'm more familiar with. In the
an expanded team.
USF 2000's got 2 or 3 new teams and drivers. Former guy that won the Freedom 100, Peter Dempsey, has now formed a team in the Chicago area. I believe he's coming to 2000 with a couple of cars. There's a couple of IndyCar teams that are, one of them is about to announce what's going on here the next short period of time, I hope. So that, people are not backing away. Say, well, hell, there's nobody in the stands. We can't go. Yeah, you can. Yeah. And they've got this iRacing thing that they do, in which gets thousands of eyes, and they can promote their sponsor that way as well. So it's, I think it hasn't been good. I'm sure the promoters have taken something of a beating, but they've put on the races. The events have been there, and it's going on, and it seems to be growing. Actually,
yeah, no, very much so. I think we've seen phenomenal growth over the winter, which is not something you would expect, obviously, with everything going on. But I think it just goes to show you that the fan appetite and the corporate brand appetite for IndyCar in particular is strong.
Yes, and that's great. Which means, as things progress, you're going to be busy.
I hope so. I don't sit still well. You know me.
Yeah, I do know you.
I like to keep moving.
Yeah, well, they say a moving target's hard to hit, so that's the way to do it.
See, now you know my secret. You finally figured it out. This is why you can't find me at the racetracks. Dodge and weave.
But I am still all upset. I sent the invitation to your email address at Experiential, and it didn't go.
I know, and it didn't even go to my spam folder. It literally went to an alternate universe. I don't know where it went.
I don't either, but somebody's going to say, who's this? But I was not aware that your old email is still working. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I sent it. Here you are. So it did work. Well, I'll tell you what, it's always interesting to talk to you. It's always interesting to listen and watch what you do and see how you do it. And I know that the Experiential has got leadership that they never thought of when they got it. Now that you have you, and I think it's phenomenal. I think you do a great job. You represent the business and the world of racing very, very well, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, you're far too kind. Likewise, my dear.
I will contact you somewhere along the line and see how things are going in 2021. Is it picking up? Are you staying home a lot? We'll find out if you have the time, if I can find you.
Yep, exactly. Stay tuned.
Yeah. I know how to find you now. I've got 2 email addresses, one that doesn't work, and I got your phone number. So
yeah, see, there you go. You'd make an excellent stalker.
Yeah, right. Except I can't walk fast, and you can outrun me, so it doesn't do any good. Anyway, thanks for your time.
You're very welcome.
Ruthie Culbertson. I'll tell you what, if it happens at a racetrack, she's probably involved somewhere, somehow, helping people out. So thanks for your time. We have more guests upcoming. We got some pretty spectacular people like Ruthie coming up in the very near future, next few days. So stay with us. We will return again. You will see the announcement on Facebook and on the autosportradio.com site who our guests are and when they're coming. So please join us again. Until the next time, Don Kay saying thanks for being here. See you again.